The question I find myself asking a couple months ago and mostly throughout my life has been, how do I live the dream that I always had envisioned, right? And sometimes that vision changes over time. But one of the reasons I'm starting this podcast is I just want to learn how to improve my life, to constantly grow, to constantly get better. And a podcast is part of it. I want not only to talk with myself and discover things for myself, and I do want to talk to other people and invite guests over and discover what they've learned through life, what they've done to help them improve theirs and apply it to my own, and sort of in that way give something to the world, help the people out there who aren't really sure. They have a life that they've envisioned, they have a dream, they have a goal they would like to achieve, and just they feel locked, they feel like they can't move forward. And this podcast is a part of that. And it's the reason why I call it the Insecure Overachiever, is mainly because I've always felt like what's driven me has always been knowing that there's more out there, and that in a sense what I do could always be better, and that it's never enough, and we have to be careful with that mindset. But it's what's driven me to constantly pursue more and more and more. And hopefully this podcast is like a part of that and becomes part of the process for me just growing as a person, and hopefully the audience growing along with me and learning and feeding and giving me feedback, and we each growing off each other. And today's topic is really that. It's really how to change your life. One of the key things I found for myself is that I really need time. I really need time to think. I need time to self-reflect. And I have to give myself a chance. The question starts with always. The question starts with always, what is it that we want to achieve? How do we know where we want to get as a person? What is good for me? What is not good for me? We only have so much time in this life to achieve certain things. In a sense, we kind of have to know, or we should know, and we should go through a process of discovering that which we really want to achieve and live throughout our life here on earth, right? And I really think that's the first step for growth. The first step to changing as a person is know the objectives that you really want to get to. And I think for that, we really have to be self-aware, we have to be self-conscious, and we have to allow our mind to wander and think about things on our own. We really have to self-reflect in a sense and think, what is it that I want to achieve? For example, I want to be fitter. Okay, are you happy with your fitness goals? Are you doing exercise right now? And if you're not, where can you find the time to do that? And I really suggest buying a notebook and just writing down everything that you either thought you wanted and maybe you don't want anymore, or you think you want but you're not really sure, or even the things, and especially the things that you know that you really want for sure. Writing them down and thinking about them. Is this what I really want? And why do I really want it? Is it a question of success? Is it a question of not being enough the way I'm living right now, which kind of goes along with the idea of the insecure overachiever, which is, okay, I look at everything that I have right now in my life, but I want more. That can come from a bad place in terms of a toxic mentality, but it can also come from a good place of thinking, well, there's so much more to learn. There's so much more that I can grow to be. And knowledge and self-understanding is really the doorway to that path. So I really encourage you, first of all, I'd say to just take time to think about it. Think about your scenario, the life you're living right now, how you would envision it being differently, and then we can go through the processes of how to change. One of the things I think is really important here is having time to think. So I think in this modern world where we live with social media, YouTube, like such easy access to films, TV shows, any kind of distractions, we really need time to think. You know, it's so easy. I think my journey as a person has always been, you know, whenever I had, especially when I was younger, whenever I had time to think, whenever I started feeling unhappy with the life I was living, you know, it was straight, you know, to Instagram. It was easily opening up YouTube and watching a fun video, or watching something that would literally distract me, either make me laugh or just take my focus away from real life. And it was like in those moments that I almost felt the most unhappy, because I was like, I know, and deep down inside me, I was feeling something that was telling me like, Jason, this is not the life you want to live. Why are you watching on YouTube? And so it took a bit of a commitment for me of being that kind of person, to changing, to stop being so distracted. And stopping the distractions allowed me to really think about myself. I remember one of the first days I really did this was a Saturday morning, a couple of years ago, and I was sitting in my room, and I told myself, I said, I know it's Saturday, I really didn't have anything to do, neither planned or even, I couldn't really think of anything I really wanted to do. And I thought, I know that I'm gonna go probably watch some YouTube, or I'm gonna watch some movies, watch some films, right? TV shows. And I was thinking, what if I changed that day? What if I lived it differently? You know, what would I need to live it differently? I knew in some sense that I had a mind that had thoughts and had creative ideas, but I really didn't know to what depth my mind would be able to think about certain topics. And so I decided that day, I said, look, today I'm not gonna touch my phone, I'm not gonna go on YouTube, I'm not gonna watch anything. I think I literally took my phone, I put it in my drawer, and I closed my door. I couldn't lock it, but that would even probably be more ideal. But I just sat the whole day thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking. And I sort of gained like in a consciousness to myself. I began to think about all these other things and would be like, okay, if I take all the distractions out of my life, what is left of my life? And it showed me also how much time I really have. We always complain, oh, I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to do that. I don't have time to be creative, or start my own projects, or start my own business. And that's the number one complaint. It's even my complaint sometimes. It's like, oh, I really don't have time. And it's like, you really do. If you take out all the things that you have to do, your responsibilities, of course, if you're working or your studies, what other time do you have? And how do you use it? I think that's the first thing you can do. And once you identify that time, make sure you push away the distractions and just let yourself think. Let yourself self-reflect. Let yourself criticize yourself. And the number one thing you will feel is uncomfortability, right? You'll feel so uncomfortable being alone with your thoughts, without the phone for instant gratification, or the TV shows to distract you, or whatever else that you have going on in your life that keeps your mind constantly occupied. And when you get rid of that, you really feel free. You feel so free, and your mind feels free, and allows the mind to think and to process and to create. And that's really important. I think I've kind of touched upon the topic of self-reflection and being self-aware. I think that's the next step, which is when you understand how uncomfortable you are in those kind of situations, you have to accept it, and you have to be disciplined and not go back to distractions, and let yourself self-reflect. And through those processes, you will discover, I think, so much about yourself. You'll discover yourself as a person, what truly you want to do, you know. That's when, I think, when you don't have anything to do, you really feel like the most important objectives or most important ideas that you have will first come out. Maybe, you know, that's when you feel like, oh, I really want to work out. Like, I really feel like I'm not fit. I really feel unhappy. Or I maybe have a back pain, for example. Sometimes I have back pains. It's like, okay, I really got to stretch. I really got to take care of my body. Or maybe you're like, okay, now I want to eat food, but I don't want to eat unhealthy. I don't want to just either, maybe you cook, maybe you don't cook. I don't really know your situation, but like, think about it, like, am I happy with my eating habits, or do I want to eat healthier? And that self-reflection really shows you what's more important. And listen to those thoughts. And that's where the notebook comes in. Write them down. I want to this. I want to that. And even more, you can be like, I want to be this, okay? And you look at your life and say, oh, I'm here at my home, or I'm out doing this, or whatever. Wherever you're doing this process of self-reflection, you stop and think like, okay, I'm here right now. Is this where I would ideally be? Is this what I ideally want to be doing? Or is there something else? Oh, I'd rather be at the gym, for example, or I'd rather be out with friends socializing, or I'd rather be creating a podcast, for example, or playing a certain sport, or doing a certain hobby, or reading. And those ideas will start coming to you with time. And if you really take the time to be quiet, to not be distracted, and just listen to yourself. And so that's what I really suggest. The next point would be, at first, this will seem like a very lonely process. You'll feel really alone, like, this is really weird, all my friends are doing this, or all my friends are doing this other thing and I'm not there, I'm taking this time to myself. But you need to understand, maybe you need to meet more people who have this idea in their mind. And this really is for the people who really feel this inside. If you don't struggle with this idea, then I don't know. I don't know your situation, right? But I'm guessing, and I think that a lot of us, and I found this in myself, even when I didn't think this was capable, or that I was capable of this, I found it in myself, this side that was so much more connected to my being. And so if you're feeling that, you really need to take this time to yourself, and you need to find more people like you. You need to find friends who aren't just interested in the basic things of, oh, let's go out and let's get drunk and not feel anything, or let's plan this even though we don't have anything to do. Try to find friends you can have great conversations with. You can ask, like, is this really the life you want to live? Or do you want to start to do something different? Do you want to change? Do you want to be better? And that is a slow process, and I'm not saying right away that you're all of a sudden going to go out and meet somebody like that. If you can, and if you do, that's fantastic. But if you don't, that's also okay. That's part of the process. And you have to change yourself before you can expect other people to be attracted to that, and to attract other people who maybe are in that same headspace. And that's really important. Yeah. I think the main focus here is how to unlock your mind. That's the number one step. Our mind really it's sort of entranced in this modern world, so wrapped up with everything that goes on everyday life, so complicated nowadays. We have so many things to do, or so many things that we think we need to do. And the world is constantly giving us things to do. Oh, you can do this, you can buy this, you can go here, you can do that. And it's like a million options. And we really need to focus on what is important. We need to cut out everything and just think, where do I want to go? And what is the path to get there? And then we can slowly over time, so the process takes months, right? And a process that probably takes years. And slowly we can make those big objectives slowly get smaller and smaller and smaller, and identify the small things. And the small things will help us eventually reach the final objective.